One state-owned company from China says it's built nearly half of a mega port in Peru under that Belt and Road initiative. Located north of Lima, it aims to start operations by the end of next year. Now, Dan Collins reports from where the new port is being built.
Building a future as an export hub for South America. A huge initial investment of $3.6 billion is being made into the Shanghai megaport. Its backers say the pier and a tunnel for trucks carrying containers will soon become part of a trade hub, opening the door to the Asian marketplace.
The opportunity that this port gives and the window of opportunity that it opens for Brazil to go to the Pacific through here is enormous. Brazil's production, Brazil's exports, and the fact that part of it is coming here means that there will be a demand for labour services, and that is what Peru needs.
The megaport, part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, is a private joint venture between Chinese state-owned conglomerate COSCO Shipping Ports Limited, with 60% of the shares, and the Peruvian mining company Volcan with 40%. Still under construction, the Shanghai megaport is projected as being South America's gateway to Asia. Just north of the Peruvian capital, Lima, the eventual deep-water port is expected to be able to offer a huge reduction in travel time across the Pacific Ocean. A journey that often takes 45 days may be cut to around 2 weeks once the port is operational. Its builders also claim it will be the first South American port to have the capacity to receive bigger ships with 18,000 containers in full load. As Peru's economy grows below expectations amid lower investment in mining following anti-government protests earlier this year, the port is being seen as a lifeline for flagging growth. The Peruvian government hopes Shanghai will become the primary hub for maritime trade between China and South America.
We're going to create an export platform, and the advantage of having the Shanghai port is that it will allow us to have a more direct connection with China. So what we hope, and what the specialists say, is that a lot of maritime trade will be transferred and will start to be done through Peru.
But not all of Shanghai's residents are in favour, as the port's construction has turned the fishing town of 60,000 people upside down.
Shanghai is a small bay that over the years has developed economically with fishing, agriculture and tourism as a growing economic activity. But this port is killing all these activities in order to impose itself.
In the big picture, China's maritime Silk Road will soon span the Pacific. A direct sea route connecting Shanghai with China, Peru's largest trading partner, could help revive this country's sagging economy, once one of the fastest growing in Latin America. Dan Collins, CGTN, Shanghai, Peru.
For more on this Belt and Road Initiative, Andy Mok joins us, Senior Research Fellow for the Center of China and Globalization from Beijing. Good to see you again, and thank you for joining us. There's a lot to get through here. Let me start with, what was the original intent going back 10 years ago of the Belt and Road Initiative?
Well, thanks for having me on, Phil. It's hard to believe that it really has been 10 years since the Belt and Road Initiative has been launched. Initially, it was called OBOR, One Belt, One Road. And it was meant to unify the Eurasian landmass, somewhat akin to the original so-called Silk Road that linked China to Western Europe. But I think even at that time, there was a broader idea here. And we heard earlier in the piece that the Western notion of development is based on adopting a set of ideological beliefs, and then somehow magically good things would happen. Whereas I think the Chinese approach is much more pragmatic, grounded in reality, that you must build roads, you must build ports, railways, electricity generation capacity. And that is how you make people's lives better. And I think that these 10 years have shown the success not only of this philosophy, but China's ability to provide leadership in terms of technological expertise, project management, planning, as well as the financing of this as well.
What do you think? You know, we heard in the last package that originally the Belt and Road was basically from China all the way to Europe, but it's since expanded really throughout the world. So it's belts, roads, seas, and so on, shipping routes. What do you think the greatest achievement has been looking back?
Well, I think there have been a number of very important tangible achievements. Everything from the Mombasa-Nairobi Railway, standard gauge railway, that reduced travel time by half and thereby improving the lives of millions of people in Kenya. We look at ports in places like Hambantota in Sri Lanka, and as we heard, in Peru. And this has echoes of Hong Kong. When we think about what drove Hong Kong's phenomenal success was that the fact that it was a deep water port that could ignite trade for a region. And similarly, I think there's these hopes that are, I think, very realistic. So these are some of the tangible achievements. I think we shouldn't overlook the intangible achievements as well, and that this is the Belt and Road, as impressive as it is only one part. It is a platform, but is a very important component of a larger vision of China's goal to create a shared future for mankind that encompasses material development, so economic development, but also spiritual development as well, through a respect for different civilizations, the choices that countries make, and security as well. So I think that there are really two very important achievements, or sets of achievements, material and intangible.
Well, Andy, I mean, look, obviously a lot of good has happened from this, but there's also been criticism as well. What could have or should have been done differently, in your opinion?
Well, I think we have to understand, Phil, this is an enormously ambitious, complex undertaking that really has no precedent in human history. Of course, there's some comparisons have been made to the U.S. Marshall Plan after World War II. So I think we have to first take this into account. This was an enormously ambitious, complex undertaking. And of course, when you do anything for the first time, nothing is going to be perfect. That being said, I think a lot of the criticism is in Western media is unfounded, misinformed, perhaps even malicious. We've seen for a time all this talk of debt trap diplomacy, lack of transparency, etc. But I think we have to recognize, again, these are such complex undertakings involving multiple stakeholders with different aspirations, different worldviews, and the fact that so much has been accomplished is really, I think, a testament not only to China's vision, but the demand and requirements for development throughout the world, as we're seeing with the interest from Latin America.
Right. I mean, look, this is China's probably biggest foray in being a global leader when it comes to these, dozens, if not hundreds, of projects around the world. And so, yes, there are going to be challenges, not to mention the language issue. Where does this lead us to, say, for the next 5 to 10 years? What's next?
Well, I think certainly we'll see more and more countries interested in this. And again, if we go back to the Chinese political philosophy, of course, it is socialism, but also it's a fusion of traditional Chinese values, including a very important component of this is Confucianism. And one of the tenets of leadership, according to Confucian thinking, is do the right thing and you will attract followers. Not that we should coerce or evangelize, but do the right thing. And I think we're seeing this happen in Latin America. And again, not just the BRI. Look at BRICS with the recent expansion, the addition of Argentina, as well as countries in the Middle East, that in the next 5 years, clearly I think momentum is growing, excitement is growing about participating in some of these important projects envisioned by China, and I think also enabled by Chinese expertise and financial capacity.
Well, Andy, I hope leaders around the world are hearing you. Yes, doing the right thing is a good one. Andy Mok, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.